Christmas in the Heartland is a little bit ridiculous, but I loved every second of this. Well, there were three things that I didn't like, but I'll discuss those with a spoiler warning at the end. This was released in 2018, it's directed by Harvey Lowry, written by Dave Matheny, and it's also known as The Christmas Trap, which is a really cheesy title, but I kind of love it. It's about two teenage girls who happen to be sitting next to each other on a flight when they're both coincidentally going to spend Christmas with grandparents they've never met. You really need to suspend disbelief with this film. There are a lot of coincidences, but as long as you don't take as long as you don't take the overarching narrative seriously, I think you'll be able to enjoy the beautiful messages that are within it. And also, some things happen in the narrative that are not completely predictable, and I really enjoyed that as well. I might talk about that with a spoiler warning in a moment. But we have Jessie, played by Brighton Sharbino, and we also have Cara, played by Sierra McCormick. And one of them is going to stay with their very wealthy grandparents, whom they've never met, and the other is going to stay with a grandmother who they've also never met, and they're very kind of opposite lifestyles and also very opposite people as well, particularly the grandmothers. It's one of the grandmothers that actually made me aware of this film, Shelley Long. I love Shelley Long, and as soon as I found out that there was a film she was in that I hadn't seen, I think there are quite a few I haven't seen, but particularly a Christmas film, I just dove straight into it. And I have to say, I'm so delighted that I had a reason to be introduced to this film because it might be one of my new favourite films. That's not at all what I was expecting to say when I started watching this because it felt a bit ridiculous. These two teenagers meet on this plane and they decide to swap lives because they both realise that their grandparents don't know what they look like. One of them doesn't want to, stay with their wealthy but very uptight grandparents. They want to be in a warm, loving environment, and the other one, not used to that kind of lifestyle, really wants that. And they decide to swap lives. And there we have the Christmas Trap title, very much the parent trap of Christmas films. And it is ridiculous because who wouldn't have seen a photo of a grandchild who's coming to stay with them in the 21st century? You definitely need to suspend disbelief. But if you can get past that, I think you'll really thoroughly enjoy it. It's all about these separate families and how the girls fit in with these families. And of course, the big question of will the real identities ever be revealed? Can they possibly sustain this for the whole of the Christmas week? And I won't say any more than that, but I will say that it took a beautiful direction and I really thoroughly enjoyed it. And I loved Judy Wilkins. That's Shelley Long's character. Not just because she's Shelley Long, but because she was so warm and welcoming and just such a wonderful presence. Really thoroughly enjoyed her. So it's very festive as well. If you're looking for a film that will get you into the Christmas spirit, there are a lot of beautiful Christmas songs. Both the girls, Cara and Jessie, are beautiful singers and they have some gorgeous Christmas songs in this. The costumes are not the most festive, but in places they are here and there. There are a lot of Christmas presents, and it's very heartwarming and heartfelt. With certain characters. With some characters, I won't say which ones, but maybe you can work it out quite quickly. But some are definitely not very welcoming. But I loved all of it, and I thought it was absolutely fantastic. And I would very much like to watch it again, and I'm pretty sure that I will. Thoroughly, thoroughly recommend it. If you watch it, let me know which title you prefer, Christmas in the Heartland or The Christmas Trap. The Christmas Trap is very cheesy as a title, but I love it. I absolutely do. So I'll just discuss the few things that I didn't like about this. They are kind of minor things, but they are spoilers. So I don't have anything else left to say that isn't a spoiler. So spoilers from now. And the first thing that I didn't notice at the time, but on reflection, I realised that this is something that I think they could have focused a bit more on. When Judy realised that Cara wasn't Jessie, she didn't really blink. And she should have really done, because we later learn that actually Cara is also her granddaughter, because her son was actually her son, but raised by another woman, and that son ended up being Cara's father. These are, as I said, big spoilers for a tangled web that's unveiled towards the end that I did not see coming. But she was actually looking after her granddaughter anyway, just not the granddaughter she thought it was. But I never ever felt like that came across when she realised that this wasn't Jessie. I didn't get the sense that she then realised, hang on, it may not be who I thought it was, but this is still my granddaughter. I never got that sense from the character. So I think they could have done a little bit something with that, even just a tiny bit to make her reaction seem a little bit more believable. But nevertheless, that part of the narrative of finding out about her son was just incredible. Something that I didn't like is Jessie's reaction to her father when she realizes, or when she finally meets her real father. And it's the scene where they're sitting at the stairs, just the two of them, and she starts to cry, and she's very cold towards her father. And she's basically saying, I used to dream of you, and then I'd wake up and you weren't there. And her father explained, until 2 weeks ago, when I found out your mother had died, I didn't know you existed. This man has just given up his music career with the hope of raising this daughter he's just realised exists. He's given up his life for her, which, to be fair, considering he didn't know she existed, he doesn't have an obligation to do that. And she was still basically not going to even give him a chance. And I don't understand why she was being so nasty to him almost. It's a very unrealistic response. If somebody says, I didn't know you existed, you don't really have the right to say, well, you weren't there for me. Well, that's your mother's fault for not telling him that you existed. Now, her mother's just died, so she's not really going to be thinking ill of her mother, but at the end of the day, that is her mother's fault. If, they had a casual encounter and went their separate ways, it is the mother's responsibility to tell the father that she's pregnant, and she didn't, and it's her fault. And it's her fault that Jessie grew up without a father. And yeah, she doesn't want to think ill of her mother because she's just died, but don't take that out on the father. I'm definitely getting more heated up about this than I was expecting to. But the point is, didn't like her reaction in that moment, and I didn't like her as a character in that moment. But, bless Cara for what she did. And the other thing I didn't like, and I feel like it kind of ruined the ending, is when they went outside to make a wish on the Christmas star. And as soon as they opened those front doors, they started singing and dancing. We needed a moment between them going outside and then launching into the ending. We needed a moment where they all just stood there silently, side by side, looking up at the Christmas star, just for a beat. It didn't have to last too long, but we just needed that moment to fully absorb everything that had happened and realize that actually they've overnight, in fact, not even overnight, in the course of a couple of hours, they've just become this giant extended family. And we needed that calm, peaceful moment before they launched into this really random song and dance where we get loads of clips of behind the scenes footage, which actually I really liked. And I thought that was a really fun way to end a brilliant film. But we needed that moment between them opening the front doors and looking up at the Christmas star and then launching into the fun ending. We needed that moment for us to acknowledge that they've just become this giant extended family. And we weren't granted that, and I feel like it kind of ruined it a little bit. But all of that aside, I loved it. I still loved it. I absolutely adored Christmas in the Heartland. Definitely a new favourite film. Yes, it's a little bit ridiculous. Yes, it's a little bit unbelievable. But if you can look past that, I think you'll really adore it. And needless to say, I truly recommend it.